Well, there are big smiles on our faces in the studio at Crossroads Center today because an old friend has dropped by to give us an update as to what he is doing on the missionary journey. And that friend is Cal Bombay. Cal, it's so good to see you.
Thank you, John.
Welcome back and welcome home. Let me read this by our mutual friend Jim Canelon. This is the foreword from your most recent book, Reflections. Jim says, for over 50 years, he, that is Cal Bombay, has faithfully grounded out in the Lord's work in Africa and Canada. Today, after 25 years of national television prominence, he has become a champion to the infant nation of South Sudan and is so trusted that he has spoken to the South Sudanese parliament, where a standing ovation culminated in a motion to give him citizenship. Jim says, I've known Cal for decades. He is a man of integrity who has walked where few of us will ever go. And we are thrilled to have you back. I go back to my days at People's Church from '93 to 2000, and I'd have a television monitor there in my office, and I would see your commentaries. And you always had something fresh and new and relevant from the Word of God. It's great to have you here.
It's wonderful to be home again.
So you've just gotten back from a place that has become second home for you, I think, and that is South Sudan.
Yeah, South Sudan, it's in turmoil, of course, right now, but at the same time, there's some tremendous moves forward in the work we're doing there.
It seems what the Lord has done has put you in a position where you can blend passions for economics and what is becoming farming and manufacturing. We'll get into more detail in a moment with this Savannah Flour Company, as well as a desire to help churches develop in South Sudan. Is that kind of the 1-2 punch that's happening right now as you go over there?
It's 1, 2, 3. There's a hospital I'm still trying to build too.
Very good.
But yes, the flour mill is really a giant step forward now, and because of the size of the crops we're getting now, and the fact that the present civil unrest that started out greed for power turned into a tribal conflict. There are 800,000 people now displaced just because of that right now.
Just in South Sudan.
Needing food. Added to the 500,000 that were already still not able to eat properly.
So this project that is the flour company, the flour mill company, that relatively is new when you look at how fast it's grown. Today, you have 50 to 60 employees working in the company. Mm-hmm. Describe what it is that's happening there, because it's not only just the flour company that's processing maize, but you're growing maize in cooperatives and farming relationships all around the mill. Is that right?
Yes, indeed. The main fields are about 9 kilometers from that headquarters we just saw, and the mill. It was a matter of prayer some time ago, because we needed it to provide ready-to-cook food. And God does miracles. He's in a habit of doing the impossible.
Right. And
we needed $200,000 for that. And one day, driving from the post office, a letter was opened, and there was $200,000 check to pay for that mill, which is up and running and now capable with a double shift of producing about anywhere from 25 to 35 metric tons of flour a day.
Now, you are getting ready to step up the rate of speed or the capacity of farming, are you not? Are you needing greater farming equipment, larger, more efficient tractors?
Yes.
And so talk about that vision, is where you want to go.
Well, we've been given, as many people know, 100,000 acres. Well, we'll never use that all. We've got a lease on 20,000. We're farming less than 1,000 right now. And by farming with small tractors, it takes us 41 days just to prepare the land for planting. And that can't go on like that. We've got to step up to the bigger machines, and we're looking at 300-400 horsepower tractors. And we're just trusting God, like for that $200,000 for the mill, we need about $750,000 to get all the ancillary equipment, and that can do it. Instead of 41 days, it can do it in 2 days.
Wow. So are you doing about 450 to 500 acres of farmland now that's being cultivated and developed?
That is cleared for cultivation, yes.
And then what happens once this, you're growing maize primarily?
Maize primarily, yes.
All right, and then the maize is then taken to the processing plant?
Yes, it's dried first in kilns, then it's carried to the flour mill, where we've got bins now, and they're just being connected, some of the things. with augers and so on, so it'll be all basically automatic. But we've got, in the mill alone, we've got 18 people working.
Yeah. You have been all over the world. I think you've been in over 75. Like me, you travel a lot. We have been in
countries,
yeah. And there are a lot of places where the Lord could have really melted your heart to go and stay or to focus. Why Sudan?
Because it's the low man on the totem pole. I've been in 75 countries. I've seen the destitution. I've seen the war, the results of war and famine and floods and all over the world. But the one that grabbed my heart was the most suffering country I've ever seen, because of the Islamists in the north, the south.
The conflicts.
The conflicts and all of the killing, 2.2 million people killed since 1989, and people starving left, right, and center.
What always frustrated me, Cal, in trying to train leaders around the world in some of the prior things I've done, is what's broken my heart is to see corruption among leaders.
Yes.
And if we could get the leadership piece right, you know, the Bible tells us that when Israel had good kings, the people were blessed and the nation prospered. When they had evil kings, the opposite was true.
Yes.
And you see in Sudan, while there are challenges there just like anywhere else in the world when it comes to issues of honesty and integrity. And one of the things I think you're doing that impresses me from a leadership perspective is that you're winning friends over
yes.
in the highest places of government in the South Sudan.
And that's quite true, and it's all come about not by accident, but by God's design. None of the people I've met or worked with and work with now have been people I've sought out. They crossed my path and our paths joined together. For instance, Zamba Duku, who is the managing director of the whole Savannah Farmers Cooperative, both the outgrowers and the fields and the mill and the mechanical workshop, all of those things that we put on the compound. He was the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Eastern Equatoria State, and he quit politics because he said, I want to do something significant for my people.
Yeah.
And now he's a managing director. So that was no accident.
I think we have a clip, do we not, that we could show. I think it is from the Vice President of South Sudan,
yes.
Who has a few words to say about you and the work you're doing. Let's take a look at that and be encouraged by what we see.
I thank the Canadian people and the donors to the Cal Bombay Ministries for having done this fantastic job. We were just celebrating with the population of the area. There was a big dancing and jubilation, and also to Mr. Karl Marx as an individual also, and the management here for really doing this fantastic job.
And so much of this, maybe 100% of this work that you're doing has been funded by Canadians.
100%.
It's phenomenal.
Yes, it's been a hard job
yeah.
raising those funds, but God has always provided when we needed
Amen.
it, right? Every time.
Talk to us for a moment before we break away about the Christ followers in Sudan, what we would call the church in Sudan. Take us there. How are they doing? How's it going?
The Church of Jesus Christ is strong right across the board denominationally, and there are no denominational barriers as we recognize them.
So
see them here.
There's reasonable unity.
Great unity between all of the churches. And we just built a church actually near the part of the compound of the Savannah Farmers Cooperative. Seat about 600 or 800 people. We installed the pastor just 9 days ago on Sunday. And that's going to be a place of evangelism as well as teaching and on hygiene and farming and the whole thing. But the church is strong, and I personally believe that the solution to the problems that are going on, which right now are mostly tribal at this stage, mm-hmm. I think the church is the answer. And they're the only ones that can carry and bring peace.
Oftentimes you'll see in a country like Sudan that the church is the hub, and then transformational messages can go out to the business community, the government community, mm-hmm. education, athletics, sports, whatever it may be. And it's so encouraging that people like you are there to help mentor these not only emerging governmental leaders and business leaders, but you're there helping these emerging church leaders, Cal.
It's amazing the people I've met, like right now, shaking hands with the Prime Minister, the Vice President, Zamba Duku, the Managing Director, and myself, out in the fields where they're looking with amazement at these lands because they never saw them before and never realized such a big thing was happening in South Sudan.
And what leaders like you do is go in and offer encouragement and hope, and then you cast vision. And the best leaders try to make other people's lives better.
Right.
And that's the kind of leader you are. And that's what you've been doing for decades here in Canada. And now you're doing it all over the world. I'd like to encourage you to visit Cal's website. It's calbombayministries.org. And you can find out not only what's going on in Cal's life, but also what's going on in his ministry. And it would be a great way for you to drop him an email and just say, hey, Cal, thank you for everything that you've been doing through the years, and we want to continue to pray for you, encourage you, and support you. And Cal, I told you before we went on camera that people like me, we stand on your shoulders and the shoulders of David Maines and others who built this ministry and made it in what it is today, and we're profoundly grateful for the good seed you've sown, and pray for us that we'll be faithful stewards of it.
The future is brighter than now.
Yeah.
For both.
Yeah. Thank you, Cal Bombay.
God bless you, John.
God bless you. We love you so much.
Thank you so much.
Will you come back soon?
Sure.
Please do. Please do.